Every year, San Francisco hosts a huge tech expo, and this year was no different. The latest AI systems, robotics, and electric vehicles were all on display. Hundreds of people had gathered to check out the newest innovations. One of the special guests at the event was none other than famous actor Robert Downey Jr. After a while, though, he decided to step away from the crowd and find a quieter spot. That's when something caught his eye. A small, dusty robot sitting on an old table. Unlike the other high-tech devices on display, this one looked neglected and forgotten. No company logo, no description, nothing. That only made Robert more curious. He took a few steps closer and, in a low voice, said, "Well, who are you?" Next to the robot was a small screen. As Robert leaned in, the screen flickered to life. A few seconds later, a high-pitched, childlike voice spoke. "Dad, if you're listening to this, please find me." Robert's curious expression quickly turned serious. The recording continued. "I'm here, but I'm far away." He glanced around. No one else seemed to care about the robot. Something about this felt off. He carefully picked up the little machine and examined it. As he pressed a few buttons, the screen flickered again, showing an old, grainy video. A small child appeared, his voice barely audible through the static. "My name is Leo. If you find this, please help me." At first, Robert thought it might be some kind of prank or marketing stunt, but deep down, something told him this was serious. On the back of the robot, he noticed a faintly scratched serial number. He quickly took a picture and sent it to a tech-savvy friend for help. A few hours later, the reply sent shivers down his spine. The robot had belonged to a child who had gone missing 5 years ago. His name was Leo Carter. Without wasting another second, Robert started looking into the case. According to the reports, Leo had disappeared in an abandoned industrial area years ago. Even though it was late at night, Robert couldn't wait. He grabbed his car keys and drove straight to the industrial district. When he arrived, he found himself in front of an old, abandoned warehouse. The walls were crumbling, the metal doors rusted, and shattered glass covered the ground. As he stepped inside, he noticed scattered toys and children's drawings on the walls. Then, the robot's screen flickered again. "You're close. I'm here." Robert's heartbeat quickened. He followed the voice, step by step, his eyes scanning the dark space. And then, he saw it. A small figure curled up inside an old cabinet. For a moment, Robert froze. The child wasn't moving, but he was breathing. Carefully, Robert approached and spoke softly. "Hey there, little buddy. I'm here to take you home." The boy slowly lifted his head and looked up at Robert with wide eyes. Are you Iron Man?" he whispered. Robert smiled gently. "And I'm here to save you." Without wasting any time, he pulled out his phone and called the police and emergency services. Minutes later, sirens pierced the night. As officers and paramedics rushed in, a sudden cry echoed through the warehouse. A woman, screaming, sobbing, ran toward the boy. It was Leo's mother. She collapsed to her knees, arms wide open. For a second, Leo hesitated. Then he sprinted toward her and threw himself into her arms. His mother held him tightly, tears streaming down her face. A moment later, his father joined them, clutching his son and breaking down into sobs. "We thought we'd never see you again." Robert watched the emotional reunion, a deep sense of relief washing over him. Helping reunite a child with his family, that was worth more than any award. A police officer walked up to him and nodded with gratitude. "Mr. Downey, you saved that boy's life." But Robert simply shook his head and smiled. "I didn't do much," he said. "The real hero was that little robot." Later that night, Back in his hotel room, Robert placed the robot on the table and stared at its small screen. With a warm smile, he said softly, "You did good, buddy." The robot's screen flickered once, almost like it was responding, and so, a simple message hidden inside an old robot had brought a lost child back home.